Okay, here we go. Next session. And this is going to be much shorter, but we are just going from crisis to contentment. And we are going to be looking at the best conflict resolution skills um, to really emphasize empathy, respect, and to foster a really harmonious home environment, even if it's hard to imagine now. There are ways, people, there are ways. Okay. So the first one, we are active listening. Okay. Now, the reason why some of these are going to come up that we've discussed before is because they are that important. And when you are in a situation where there is active conflict going on, this is something that you actually need to teach your children, and that is only going to be really caught when it is demonstrated. And the most important thing there is to understand before you can expect to be understood. So that means I must really hear the person now. I really need to listen to just whatever emotion I'm feeling, just try and put that on ice for a second and just hear what the person is saying, which is very difficult when the emotions are heated and there's you in the midst of the battle. But if you are able to just avoid interrupting and ensure that the person in front of you is feeling heard and understood, you are going to get much further with them anyway. So to right off the bat, very first thing that you do already makes a huge difference, and that will already determine whether this thing is really going to result in a full-scale war, or are we able to quickly nip it in the bud and just deal with it in the most effective way without damage being done. Let's put it that way. Very important. So regardless of what is said, don't react, don't roll your eyes, don't shake your head like I'm doing now, don't huff and puff. Listen, work on that poker face. It took me years and I still haven't mastered it, but I'm a lot better than I was, believe me. Because it's really gonna help the cause a lot. Then the next one that we are going to work through is empathy and understanding. Now, again, regardless of what is voiced, don't judge or retaliate or deny or justify or scoff or laugh or nothing. Just listen and try and feel what the person is saying. Don't brush it off. That's the worst thing you can do, or minimize it. But really take this heightened emotion and work with it very carefully. That instills safety, it instills trust, it instills a level of security that is not the same than what you build in peaceful times or in happy memory times. This is like when we are in the midst of the fire, my mom will hear me. My dad will understand. That saves kids. I promise you that saves kids. So it's very important, and this is why we're talking about that again, especially in heated arguments, especially at times where there's real danger of harm. Please try and see more than they do and feel with them. Very important. And this is how you teach a child to not judge someone else without walking in their shoes. That's so important. We need to develop greater understanding all the time because things are changing fast, because there are so many new things coming into the mix all the time. We need to foster greater understanding. It's that's a life changer for all of us, and we all need to do that. Okay, and then the third one, which again I have to reiterate, use the I statements, especially if sensitive information was conveyed, especially if something really bad went down, especially if there is clearly something so much deeper driving this cause for alarm. So important to use I statements so that you don't lose the trust and understanding that you're trying to build up, so that you don't project things on the children that is not necessarily all theirs. It's not your own hurts and things coming through. It's you've got to listen to them. And in that way, you can demonstrate to them how they need to listen to you as well. So you can each say your I statements, and then you've got very raw, deep emotions to work with, and you can put it together, and you can then go and find a positive solution that will benefit both of you, or that will help both of you support one another. But until you've done that, it's going to be fueled by emotion and heightened senses of everything. And that is not going to help you. That's not conducive. We need to make sure that every situation that we find ourselves in, we want to resolve it with love and fairness and grace, because that is the fruit that we are wanting them to enjoy the benefit of. Okay, and then we get to the most familiar thing, I think, for most parents, and that's timeouts and calming. Now, again, fortunately, because of the results that we are able to see today, because of studies done, endless studies done, because of how psychology has changed over the years, how people's approaches to everything has changed over the years. We know that, you know, where the timeouts go, sit in the corner and face the wall and think about what you've done, and you can get up when you have remorse or you know, that time out that was more inclined to instill more shame than anything else. That was a phase. That was a whole generation that probably grew up like that. So there were all these theories over the years. But the thing is, and something that I'm very grateful for, that has come out also now in behavioral studies and brain activity, about how we were made, not just people's responses, but how were we actually created. How does the brain operate in every kind of scenario, and how does that impact the amount of brokenness, etc., that is invited into your life? And something that Dr. Gabor Mate discovered was that when there's a blow up and heightened emotion, and your child is acting out, even if it's a full-scale meltdown, to say, go to your room. I'm not talking to you about this now. Go calm down first. Go to your room. Go do all these things. Just go. Which I think we all grew up with that or experienced it at some point. That is the worst thing that you can do, because in effect, what you are saying to your child is, when you have all these emotions, you are not acceptable to me. You are not, I'm not prepared to deal with you like this. This is not, I don't want to be part of this. And that is the last thing that you want. And then, you know, you wonder, where does all this separation come from? Where did all the trust get lost? Where did all these things get lost? Why When your child is upset, do they rather run to someone else than to you? And this is stuff that they discovered in the interim, and very, very important for us to know that especially in those moments, you can just hold your child just until the meltdown just literally disappears, until every emotion just is um, neutralized. Um, the other thing you can do, because sometimes kids get so upset they don't even want you to go near them. If you can't hold them and just help them through that emotion, just to take their hands and say, okay, you know what, I can see that you're at a point now where you're not even remotely receptive to what I want to say to you. And if your child's too young, you're not going to use those words, but you are going to think that and say, you know what, nothing that I can say to you now is going to help you. So we're not going to talk. I just want to help you through this. And take the child's hands and say, let's breathe. Close your eyes. Just let's stand together and breathe. Because this is an amazing thing that I learned in another study is even in nature, when the adrenaline starts flowing, when it reaches a point where you are really in survival mode, where it's that fight, flight, freeze, or freak out kind of scenario, even in nature, nature has been designed and geared to neutralize that. And the examples that they looked at were wild animals. And I think the one was a tiger, but the other one that I specifically remember was a bear, these big grizzlies. When they get into a fight and they're fighting for their lives, or they're being hunted and they're being shot at, it's such a survival moment for them, and they'll do anything possible to get away or just win the battle. But after that, what was so interesting, what they discovered is these animals would disappear to a secluded spot. So either go into a cave or go into a protected area where they feel safe. And they would start shaking. And they would literally shake so violently that it becomes like a blur before your eyes. To shake all that adrenaline, all that survival instinct out, because they know, inherently they know, they cannot proceed until they've done that. Because, and that's the thing, I mean, too much adrenaline, it becomes completely toxic for the body. So they know that. It was built into them. They have to go and recalibrate after a heightened experience. And that is what they did. And this is how scientists learn, but that is how the human brain is formed. And so you are not going to be able to achieve anything with your child in that state until you have recalibrated. And doing it together assures them of your understanding, support, everything. And it gives both of you time to just calm down, because until you actually reach that point of normalcy, you're not going to be able to process it correctly anyway. So, and there's so many breathing techniques now that are really effective. But the quickest, easiest one that I find has definitely achieved the most positive results is that it's four counts in and then double exhale. So inhale is like 4 or 5 counts, and then double exhale 8 to 10 counts out. And then you do that at least 5 times. You will not believe what it actually does to your body, your mind, everything. And then being able to do it with your child, you are teaching them how to help themselves when you're not around, when something terrible happens at school or wherever. They know. Go somewhere, go breathe. Run outside, go breathe. And that's the other thing. You can do it on the spot, or if you really need to get them out of the situation, go outside, go jump on the trampoline, go swim in the pool, go do breathing and engage in something else, completely removed from this situation before you can properly address it. Very, very important. Then the next one is doing very well, by the way, problem solving approach. And this is a wonderful thing to try and get them involved in early on already. So you take the issue at hand. You don't focus on the blame. You don't focus on who is at fault here. You don't focus on anything other than just the issue. Okay. Never mind what you feel like and what you feel like and what you feel like. What is the issue? Take that issue. Focus on that. And then do a quick core values assessment. And you should have received the 3 key principles to transforming your family by now. And if you work through that, you will see that we all have different core values. There is going to be a top 3 for every single one of us that are going to either be wildly different or just a little bit different, but we've got to remember that, because in every situation, what that points to is, what is the thing that I am focusing on the most? What is the thing that she's focusing on the most? This thing that resulted now. Why is it so upsetting? It's because her top thing is trust and honesty, and your top thing is fairness, or I don't know, can't think of. But and then say, okay, so this is the issue. You want this kind of result. You want that kind of result. This is where you are bashing. So how can we find a solution that is going to satisfy both of you? That is going to make you both feel like it's a win-win. And to get those kinds of problem-solving um, juices going, start early on. It's like if you are seeing something happen in the street, you and your child are driving in the car, you're going to the store, and you see something happening in the street, or you're in the store and you see an argument break out there, or you see someone engage in strange activity or whatever. That is where you plant the seeds for problem solving in a very, very effective way, because then they are not, you and your children are not personally involved. You are just taking the scenario and you are saying, okay, what is happening in front of us? Why do you think that's happening? What do you think she wants, and what do you think he wants? And what do you think is the cause of this? And, start talking like this. And if your children are young, you can still have these kinds of conversations, because that's what I did. Is if I saw kids engage in things on the playground that they shouldn't, or where the one was being mean to the other, I would say to my child, what do you think's happening there? Why do you think they're doing that? And even if they're young and they can't express it in a very scientific way, and that, it's just a word or whatever comes out, you can already there say, no, you know what? It's not that. That little boy actually just wants to take that thing away from that boy because he wants it for himself, whatever. And so you can address almost any imaginable kind of issue without being personally involved. So obviously your perspective is way more objective. Your child can see it from both sides clearly because they're not involved, and they can learn to assess situations like that, which is fantastic, because before you even have the understanding to put yourself in that scenario, you've already seen where the solutions might lie. So you are teaching them to go and look for solutions. Don't focus on the problem. When you see something happen, immediately go look for a solution, which is incredibly effective. And I did that especially with my youngest, and it's just amazing because, and also between us, it's a good way to gauge where they're at without them knowing. So I would, I fetched him from school the one day, and these boys were getting up to all naughty things. And I said to him, um, what are they doing? He said, Mommy, they are just causing trouble. And I said, really? It looks like it. And he said, yeah. And I said to him, but didn't they try and, because this was at aftercare, so there wasn't a big group of children there, and it's the boys his age. I said, but didn't they try and involve you in that? He said, I'm not that stupid. I know that's going to get us into trouble. And that was like, first of all, thank God my child had the wisdom not to get involved just because I don't want to deal with the trouble. But secondly, it already, when they tried to drag him into this, he already knew. He could see 10 steps ahead. So he knew what to stay clear of. And that saves you so much unnecessary drama. I cannot even begin to describe it. Then the next one is apologizing and forgiving. And that starts with us as parents, as mature adults. We need to model this before we can even begin to think to teach this. We need to model, and that means often you are going to have to apologize first. You are going to have to say, oh, you know what, this happened now. And I know you weren't right, but you know what? I know that I did that in front of you the other day. So I wasn't really a good example of what you should be doing in this scenario. So I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. And because when you do that, when you have no problem doing that, guess what? They're not going to have a problem doing that. They are going, when we own up to anything that we might have done to cause unhappiness or whatever happened, they can see, okay, well, she apologized and she forgave, and it didn't cause any trouble for her, or it actually alleviated the situation, or it didn't break my trust in her. On the contrary, she owned up to it and she took responsibility for it. So if your children see that, and especially in your friendships, your relationship with your spouse or partner or whoever it is, where they see that happening with adults, it is the best way to model this for them, and then you can expect it from them because that is what they learn in their house. So that's fine. And I learned this a few years ago. It was I think I passed by a poster, and it it just immediately brought me to a standstill. Forgive everyone, everything. And I'll never forget that, because I just thought to myself, wow, that is so powerful, because all the people that are walking around with baggage and hurt and trauma and everything, how different would their lives look if they just were able to forgive everyone, everything? How many things am I dragging with me that I could have been freed of years ago if I just forgave everyone, everything? And it is such a wonderfully light way to live. Lighten the load. Do yourself a favor and teach your children this wonderful, wonderful lifesaver. Forgive everyone, everything, because it removes a lot of hurt and resentment down the line. It sorts out matter immediately, so it can't fester anymore. It saves relationships. It frees us from all the guilt and shame that can come with that. It is so powerful. And we need to demonstrate it to our children first and foremost in everything that we do. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful model to stick to. And There's an O. Oh, um, if you're a believer, just remember this, that I listened to this 20-second clip from John Bevere, and it was so powerful because he was talking about forgiveness and he was talking about the fear of the Lord. And he said that, this guy came to him once and he was going off. He was going off about this terrible wrong that he suffered and how it has impacted his life. And John said to him, but you've got to forgive them. You have to forgive them. And he said, but John, you don't know what this guy did. And John turned around and he said to him, you don't know what Jesus did for you. The one that was completely blameless, took all the blame so we could be free. So really, what better example is there of forgiveness for us than that? And then finally, lastly, if these things that I've worked through now, if you are struggling with it, if you are finding that you get it and you see it, but there's a stumbling block for you, there's a hurdle that you're not able to work through, even despite the fact that you've done it exactly like this, even despite the fact that you've had these conversations and you've tried it, there's just something preventing you from breaking through in that area. Please talk to me. Talk to somebody. Get an objective party to just deal with whoever is struggling with this, or but really seek mediation. Don't be scared to do that. This is why the world is full of therapists, and there are millions of courses online and all these things. There are many ways to seek for it. But really, just speak to somebody. Yes, speak to me. I deal with this stuff all the time, I know. But even if it's not me, just please speak to somebody. Promise yourself that you will not suffer in silence, that you will not allow your children to suffer in silence, but that you will really seek a breakthrough, because it is vitally important. What you don't sort out today is not going to sort itself out tomorrow. You can be sure of that. I can guarantee it. What we are not able to sort out today is going to fester. It's going to be worse tomorrow and the next day. And by next year, it's going to hurt too much to even carry on. So really, please take this to heart and try and make a plan. Okay, and now we are going to, okay, I'm sure that these 7 points are going to help you in any kind of scenario. I would love to hear what your biggest aha was, even if you send me a message, or if you want to talk about it now afterwards, after the workshop, there's going to be a Q&A time. So please, if there's something that jumps out at you, write it down. Don't forget to ask me about it. I would love to hear. Or if there's anything that you encounter or struggle with right now that you don't see the answer to here, please tell me. I'm very ready to help you get through it today. Okay, and then we are going to come back with the last section, which is strategies for establishing and maintaining that strong and supportive connection. So we are going to take a quick drinks break, and then I will be back with you shortly. Thank you so much for being here. I really believe this is going to help your family tremendously.